Commander Jake Morrison sat at his desk in the United Earth Defense Command Center. The coffee in his cup had gone cold hours ago, but he did not notice. His eyes were fixed on the screens, showing star maps and ship movements across the galaxy. It was a quiet Tuesday morning when everything changed. The communication officer, Lieutenant Amy Davis, suddenly turned around in her chair. Her face was pale, and her hands shook as she spoke. "Sir, we have an incoming transmission." "It's not from any human ship or station." Jake stood up quickly. In his 15 years of service, he had never received a message from aliens. Earth had been searching for other life in the universe for decades, but had never found any proof that it existed. Now, it seemed, other life had found them first. "Put it on the main screen," Jake ordered, the large display at the front of the command. Center flickered to life. The image was clear, but strange. A tall figure appeared on the screen. It looked like a human, but it was much taller and covered in scales that shined like metal. Its eyes were yellow and cold, like a snake's eyes. When it spoke, its voice was deep and harsh. "People of Earth," the creature said, "I am Ambassador Vexstar of the Zelfarian Empire. Your species has made a grave mistake." Jake felt his heart beat faster. The room became very quiet. Everyone stopped what they were doing to listen. "You have built colonies and star systems that belong to our empire," the alien continued. "The Kepler system has been ours for over 1,000 years. Your presence there is an act of war against our people." The image changed to show space battles. Huge alien ships fired weapons at planets. The planets caught fire and turned to glass. Cities and forests disappeared in seconds. Millions of people died in moments. "This is what happens to those who defy the Zelfarian Empire," Vexstar said. "We have destroyed 47 star systems. We have conquered hundreds of worlds. We have never been defeated." Jake watched in horror as the alien ships destroyed world after world. The weapons were unlike anything humans had ever built. They did not just destroy buildings or armies. They destroyed entire planets. "You have 72 hours to leave the Kepler system," Vexstar continued. "You will also give us your entire space fleet. If you do not obey, we will destroy every human world. We will kill every man, woman, and child on Earth and all your colonies." The transmission ended. The screen went black. The command center was silent for a long moment. Lieutenant Davis broke the silence. "Sir, should I contact Admiral Hayes?" Jake nodded. "Yes, and get President Lopez on the line. This is bigger than just the military now." Within minutes, Admiral Lisa Hayes arrived at the command center. She was a tough woman who had served in the Earth Navy for 30 years. She had fought in the Mars Wars and the asteroid belt conflicts. But Jake had never seen her look so worried. "Show me the message again," she said. They watched the transmission 3 more times. Each time, it seemed more frightening. The alien weapons were clearly more advanced than anything Earth had. The Zelfarian Empire was huge and powerful. Earth seemed very small and weak in comparison. Dr. Alex Carter arrived an hour later. He was Earth's best expert on alien life, though until today he had only studied theories and possibilities. Now he had real aliens to examine. "Look at their biology," he said, pointing at the screen. "They are reptilian, but they have technology built into their bodies. See those metal parts on their skin? Those are not decorations. They are machines that are part of their bodies." "What does that mean?" Admiral Hayes asked. "It means they are more than just organic beings," Dr. Carter explained. "They have combined biology with technology. Their ships are probably the same way. They grow their weapons instead of building them." The news spread quickly around the world. President Maria Lopez called an emergency meeting with world leaders. The United Nations held a special session. Military commanders from every country came to discuss what to do. Jake watched the news reports from his office. People were scared. Some were angry. Others wanted to fight. Many wanted to surrender and hoped the aliens would spare Earth. "What do you think we should do?" Admiral Hayes asked Jake. Jake looked at the star maps on his wall. Earth had 12 colonies in different star systems. The Kepler system was their newest and largest. Over 2 million people lived there. Could they really abandon all those people? "We need to buy time," Jake said. "Send diplomats to talk to them. Maybe we can negotiate something." But deep down, Jake knew the truth. The aliens were not interested in talking. They wanted Earth to surrender or be destroyed. There was no middle ground. That night, Jake could not sleep. He walked through the empty corridors of the command center. The night shift officers nodded to him as he passed. They all looked worried too. Jake thought about his daughter, Emma. She was only 8 years old. She liked to draw pictures of spaceships and dream about visiting other planets. Now other planets were coming to visit Earth, and they brought only death. The next morning brought more bad news. The Zelfarian fleet had been spotted moving toward Earth's solar system. Long-range sensors showed hundreds of ships, each one bigger than Earth's largest warship. "How long until they reach us?" Admiral Hayes asked. "If they maintain current speed, about 6 days," Lieutenant Davis replied. Jake did the math in his head. The aliens had given Earth 72 hours to surrender. The fleet would arrive just after the deadline expired. They were not planning to negotiate. They were planning to attack. Dr. Carter had been studying the alien transmission all night. He had new information to share. "I found something interesting," he said. "The ambassador mentioned that the Kepler system has been theirs for 1,000 years. But our deep space probes have been studying that system for 50 years. We never found any signs of alien life there." "What does that mean?" Jake asked. "Maybe they were not telling the truth about owning the system," Dr. Carter suggested. "Maybe they just want it for themselves." Admiral Hayes shook her head. "It does not matter. True or false, they have the power to destroy us. We need to focus on how to survive." The evacuation of the Kepler colonies began that afternoon. Transport ships rushed to collect the 2 million colonists and bring them back to Earth. But Jake knew it was probably too late. The Zelfarian fleet would intercept the evacuation ships long before they reached safety. As the first day ended, Jake realized something important. Earth was about to face its greatest challenge. The aliens were stronger, more advanced, and more experienced in war. But humans had something the aliens might not expect. They had the will to fight for their survival, no matter what the cost. The 72-hour countdown had begun. Soon, Earth would learn if humanity was strong enough to survive in a galaxy filled with dangerous enemies. 2 days had passed since the alien message. Jake Morrison stood in an elevator that was going down, down, down. He had been in this building many times, but never this deep. The elevator stopped at a level he did not know existed. The doors opened to reveal a long white hallway. General Paul Stone was waiting for him. Stone was an old man with gray hair and serious eyes. He had been Jake's teacher at the military academy 20 years ago. "Welcome to Sub-Level 40, Stone said. "This is where we keep our real secrets." Jake followed Stone down the hallway. They passed through 3 security checkpoints. Each one scanned Jake's eyes, fingerprints, and DNA. Finally, they reached a large metal door marked Project Prometheus. "What is Project Prometheus?" Jake asked. "The reason humanity will survive," Stone replied. The door opened into a huge room filled with computer screens and busy people. In the center was a table with a 3-dimensional map of the solar system. But this map showed things Jake had never seen before. For the past 30 years, Stone explained, we have been preparing for this day. We knew that someday someone would try to destroy us. We just did not know who or when. Dr. Susan Blake walked over to join them. She was a small woman with short red hair and smart eyes. Jake had heard of her work with advanced weapons, but he had never met her before. Show him the real fleet, Stone told her. Dr. Blake pressed some buttons on a control panel. A three-dimensional map changed. Suddenly, Jake could see hundreds of ships throughout the solar system. They were hidden in asteroid fields, behind moons, and in the empty spaces between planets. The ships you see at Earth's naval bases are just for show, Dr. Blake explained. Our real military is spread across the entire solar system. We have been building it in secret for decades. Jake stared at the map. How many ships? Over 2,000, Stone said. Each one is more advanced than anything the public has ever seen. A young officer named Captain Tony Walsh stepped forward. He was about Jake's age, with brown hair and a confident smile. I command the Saturn Defense Fleet, he said. We have been waiting for this moment for 10 years. Saturn? Jake asked. There are no military bases on Saturn. That's what we wanted everyone to think, Walsh replied. We built our shipyards inside Saturn's rings. The ice and rock hide our operations from any sensors. Dr. Blake led them to another part of the room. Here, the walls were covered with pictures of strange weapons and devices. We reverse-engineered these from alien artifacts we found on Mars. She said. Jake was shocked. There were aliens on Mars? A long time ago, Stone explained. We found ruins under the polar ice cap in 2035. The public never learned about it. We have been studying the technology ever since. The artifacts were beautiful but strange. They looked like they were made from metal and crystal at the same time. Some glowed with their own light. Others seemed to bend space around them. This is a quantum torpedo, Dr. Blake said, pointing to one device. It does not just destroy the target. It makes the target never exist at all. That's impossible, Jake said. That's what we thought too, Dr. Blake replied. But the math works. We have tested it on asteroids. The target simply disappears. Not destroyed, not vaporized. Gone. Stone showed Jake another part of the map. We also have intelligence agents throughout the galaxy. They have been watching other alien civilizations for years. A woman's voice came from the speakers. Hello, Jake. This is Agent Kelly Price. Jake looked around but did not see anyone. Where are you? I am currently on a Zeltharian ship, Kelly's voice replied. I have been living among them for 3 years. They think I am a slave they captured from a destroyed world. Jake could not believe what he was hearing. You're on their ship right now? Yes, I am speaking to you through a quantum communicator hidden in my tooth. The Zeltharians have no idea that Earth has this technology, Kelly's voice continued. I have learned many things about them. They are not as strong as they pretend to be. Their biotechnology has a weakness. If you disrupt the neural frequency that controls it, their ships and weapons will fail. Dr. Blake smiled. We have already built devices that can create that disruption. We call them neural scramblers. Stone walked over to a large screen that showed the approaching Zeltharian fleet. They will arrive in 4 days. They expect to find a weak planet with primitive weapons. Instead, they will find the most advanced military force in the galaxy. Jake was starting to understand. How long have you been planning this? Since the day we found the Mars ruins, Stone replied. We knew that if ancient aliens had visited our solar system, others would come eventually. We decided to be ready. Captain Walsh joined the conversation. My ships are equipped with reality-bending shields. Enemy weapons will pass right through. Use like we are not even there. But our weapons will hit them perfectly. The Zeltharians think they are fighting cavemen with sticks, Dr. Blake added. They have no idea that we have weapons that can erase matter from existence. Jake thought. About the alien message. They said they have destroyed 47 star systems. Are you sure we can beat them? Stone nodded. They destroyed those systems because the people there were not ready. They fought with normal weapons against an enemy that was more advanced. We are fighting with weapons that are beyond what any civilization has ever created. The room was filled with the sound of computers and people working. Jake realized that while the world above was panicking, these people were calmly preparing for war. What about the evacuation ships? Jake asked. Are we really abandoning the Kepler colonies? The evacuation is part of the plan, Stone explained. We want the Zeltharians to think we are weak and scared. When they attack, they will be confident and careless. That is when we will strike. Agent Kelly's voice came through the speakers again. The Zeltharian commander is called Supreme War Leader Kethvak. He is very proud and thinks all other species are inferior. He will not expect any real resistance from Earth. Dr. Blake showed Jake a picture of the Zeltharian commander. He was even taller than the ambassador, with scars on his scaled skin. His eyes were cold and cruel. He has never lost a battle, Kelly continued. He thinks Earth will be his easiest victory. That confidence will be his downfall. Jake walked over to the three-dimensional map. The Zeltharian fleet was shown as red dots moving toward Earth. Earth's hidden fleet was shown as blue dots scattered throughout the solar system. When do we tell the public? Jake asked. We don't, Stone replied. The fewer people who know, the better. The Zeltharians might have spies on Earth. If they learn about Project Prometheus, they will change their strategy. Captain Walsh laughed. Let them come. My crews have been training for this fight for years. We know our ships better than they know theirs. Dr. Blake pressed another button. The map zoomed in on Earth's moon. Jake could see what looked like normal research stations. But when the view changed, he saw that they were actually weapon platforms. The moon bases everyone knows about are fake, Dr. Blake explained. The real bases are hidden underground. Each one can fire quantum torpedoes at light speed. Jake was beginning to feel hopeful for the first time in 2 days. Do you really think we can win? Stone put his hand on Jake's shoulder. Jake, we are not just going to win. We are going to end this war so completely that no other alien race will ever think about threatening Earth again. The elevator ride back to the surface felt like traveling to another world. Jake had left as a man who thought Earth was doomed. He returned as a man who knew that humanity had been preparing for this moment for decades. When he reached his office, Jake looked out the window at the night sky. Somewhere out there, the Zeltharian fleet was approaching. They thought they were coming to destroy a helpless world. They had no idea that they were flying into the most sophisticated trap in Galactic. History.Jake picked up his phone and called his daughter Emma. Hi, sweetheart. How was school today? Good, Daddy. Are the aliens really coming? Yes, Emma, but don't worry. We are going to be okay. How do you know? Jake smiled. Because your daddy has some very smart friends who have been working on Akola. Surprise for our visitors. After he hung up, Jake sat in his chair and thought about what he had learned. The next few days would change everything. The galaxy would learn that Earth was not a weak target. It was a sleeping giant that had been waiting for someone to wake it up. The Zeltharians had sent Earth a threat. Soon they would receive a warning in return. The 72-hour deadline was almost over. Jake Morrison stood in the Project Prometheus command center, watching the final preparations. The time for hiding was ending. Soon, Earth would show its true face to the galaxy. General Stone walked over to Jake. It's time. he said. "Are you ready to deliver our message?" Jake nodded. He had been chosen to speak for all of humanity. The message would be broadcast to the Zaltharian fleet and recorded for history. It would be the moment that changed everything. The communication equipment was more advanced than anything Jake had ever seen. Dr. Blake had explained that it used quantum entanglement to send messages instantly across space. The Zaltharians would receive Earth's response at the same moment Jake spoke. "Remember," Stone said, "act calm. We want them to think we are not afraid." Jake sat down in front of the camera. The red light came on, showing that the transmission was live. Somewhere in space, the Zaltharian fleet was receiving his words. "Greetings, Ambassador Vextar and Supreme War Leader Kethvok," Jake began. His voice was steady and calm. "We received your ultimatum. We have considered your demands carefully." Jake paused for a moment. Behind him, the command center was busy with people making final preparations. The hidden fleet was moving into position. The weapons were being charged. "Before you proceed with your invasion," Jake continued, "we thought you should know something about humanity. We are not the primitive species you believe us to be." The camera angle changed to show a view of space. On the screen, a small asteroid was floating peacefully. It was about the size of a city block, just rock and ice that had been drifting through space for millions of years. "This is a demonstration," Jake said. "We want you to understand what you are really facing." Deep in the Saturn system, Captain Walsh sat in the command chair of his flagship. The ship was hidden inside Saturn's rings, invisible to any sensors. It was sleek and black, with weapons that could bend reality itself. "Fire quantum torpedo," Walsh ordered. The weapon fired. It was not like any weapon ever built before. It did not travel through space like a normal missile. Instead, it used quantum mechanics to make the target's existence impossible. On the screen, the asteroid began to change. It did not explode or break apart. It simply faded away like a ghost. Within seconds, there was nothing left but empty space. The asteroid had not been destroyed. It had never existed at all. That asteroid contained about 10 billion tons of matter, Jake explained to the aliens. It is now completely gone. Not destroyed, not vaporized, erased from reality itself. Agent Kelly Price was hidden in the cargo bay of the Zaltharian flagship. She watched the alien crew's reaction to Earth's message. Most of them laughed. They thought it was a trick, some kind of special effect. Supreme War Leader Kethvok was standing on the bridge of his massive ship. He was 8 feet tall with scales that gleamed like armor. His yellow eyes showed no emotion as he watched the human transmission. "Pathetic," he said to his officers. "They think they can frighten us with illusions." The science officer, a smaller Zaltharian named Tekmer, studied the readings from the demonstration. "War Leader, our sensors show something strange. The asteroid's quantum signature has completely disappeared." "Impossible," Kethvok replied. "Nothing can erase matter from existence. The humans are using some kind of holographic deception." Back on Earth, Jake continued his message. "We know you have conquered 47 star systems. We know you have destroyed entire worlds. We also know something you do not." The screen changed to show pictures of the Zaltharian Empire. There were images of their ships, their weapons, their cities. The detail was incredible, as if someone had been studying them for years. "We have been watching you," Jake said. "We know your technology. We know your weaknesses. We know exactly how to defeat you." Dr. Alex Carter had been working all night to prepare this part of the message. He had studied every piece of intelligence that Agent Kelly had provided. He understood the Zaltharian biology better than they understood it themselves. "Your biotechnology depends on neural frequencies," Jake explained. "Disrupt those frequencies, and your ships become nothing more than dead meat floating in space. On the Zeltharian flagship, Tekmer looked worried. War leader, how could they know about our neural networks? That information is classified at the highest levels. Kethvak's eyes narrowed. They are bluffing. No primitive species could understand our technology. But Agent Kelly could see that some of the crew were becoming nervous. The humans knew too much. They were too calm. Something was wrong. Jake's message continued. We have had 30 years to prepare for this moment. We found artifacts from an ancient civilization that was far more advanced than yours. We learned from them. We improved on their designs. The screen showed brief images of the Mars ruins and the alien artifacts. The Zeltharians recognized the technology immediately. It was from the predecessors, a race that had vanished millions of years ago. The predecessors, Tekmer whispered. If the humans have their technology, ... Silence, Kethvak roared. The predecessors are myths. Stories told to frighten children. But Kelly could see that even Kethvak looked concerned. The predecessors were not myths to the Zeltharians. They were legends of a race so advanced that they had transcended physical reality itself. Jake stood up in front of the camera. His expression was serious, but not afraid. You have 72 hours to leave our solar system. Take your fleet and never return. This is not a negotiation. This is a warning. The transmission paused. In the command center, everyone was quiet. This was the most important moment in human history. If you choose to attack, Jake continued, you will discover that Earth is not a helpless world waiting to be conquered. We are apex predators who have been patient long enough. The screen showed one final image. It was the three-dimensional map of the solar system, but now it displayed Earth's true military strength. Thousands of ships appeared on the map, surrounding the approaching Zeltharian fleet. We have been hiding in plain sight, Jake said. Our real fleet has been waiting for you. Our real weapons have been charged and ready. You are not invading a defenseless world. You are walking into a trap. The transmission ended. The command center erupted in cheers. But Jake felt no joy. He knew that the real battle was just beginning. Captain Walsh received the order to move his fleet into final position. The ships that had been hidden in Saturn's rings began to emerge. They were beautiful and deadly, like sharks made of metal and energy. All ships, this is Captain Walsh, he broadcast to his fleet. Operation Prometheus is now active. Move to attack positions and wait for my signal. On the Zeltharian flagship, chaos was beginning. The crew had finally understood that the humans were not bluffing. The asteroid demonstration was real. The weapons were real. The trap was real. War leader, Tekmer said, recommend we withdraw and reassess the situation. Kethvak struck his science officer with the back of his hand. Coward, we have never retreated from battle. We will not start now. But Kelly could see that many of the crew disagreed. They had never faced an enemy like this before. The humans had turned the tables completely. Dr. Blake monitored the Zeltharian fleet's communications. They are arguing among themselves, she reported. Some want to retreat, but their commander is forcing them to attack. General Stone nodded. Perfect. A divided enemy is a defeated enemy. Jake looked at the tactical display. The Zeltharian fleet was still approaching Earth, but their formation was looser now. They were uncertain, confused, and afraid. How long until they reach our outer defenses? Jake asked. 18 hours, Lieutenant Davis replied. Jake thought about his daughter Emma. She was safe in a bunker deep underground, along with millions of other civilians. But soon, the skies above Earth would be filled with weapons that could erase matter from existence. Dr. Carter approached Jake with a datapad. The neural scramblers are ready. We can disable their biotechnology the moment they enter our solar system. And if that doesn't work, Jake asked, then we use the quantum torpedoes. Carter replied, but it won't come to that. Their ships are completely dependent on their biotechnology. Without it, they are helpless. The next few hours passed slowly. Earth's hidden fleet moved into position. The weapons were charged and ready. The neural scramblers were activated, and waiting. Jake stood at the observation window, looking out at the stars. Somewhere out there, the Zeltharian fleet was approaching. They thought they were coming to destroy a weak enemy. They had no idea that they were about to face the most advanced military force in the galaxy. Sir, Lieutenant Davis called out, the Zeltharian fleet has entered our outer sensor range. They will be here in 6 hours. Jake nodded. The waiting was almost over. Soon the galaxy would learn that humanity was not prey. They were the hunters, and the hunt was about to begin. Zeltharians had sent Earth a threat. Now they would receive their warning in return. The Zeltharian fleet arrived at the edge of Earth's solar system like a dark cloud. Jake Morrison watched from the command center as hundreds of alien ships appeared on the sensors. Each ship was massive, organic-looking, and covered in weapons that glowed with their own light. They're bigger than we thought, Lieutenant Davis said, her voice tight with worry. General Stone stood calmly beside Jake. Size doesn't matter when you have the right weapons, he said. Captain Walsh, are you ready? Captain Walsh's voice came through the speakers from his hidden position near Saturn. All ships are in position, General. We have them completely surrounded, and they don't even know it. Supreme War Leader Kefvak stood on the bridge of his flagship, studying the human solar system. His yellow eyes showed confidence and hunger. This would be an easy victory, just like all the others. I see only a few primitive ships near there. Home planet, he told his officers. Their military is pathetic. We will destroy them in minutes. But Agent Kelly Price, hidden in the cargo bay, knew the truth. She could see the real human fleet on her secret scanner. Thousands of ships were waiting in the asteroid belt, behind moons, and in the empty spaces between planets. Commence the attack, Kefvak ordered. Show these humans what happens when they defy the Zeltharian Empire. The alien fleet moved toward Earth. Their ships were beautiful in a terrible way, like living creatures swimming through space. Their weapons began to charge, preparing to turn Earth into a ball of fire. Then Dr. Blake pressed a button. The neural scramblers activated all across the solar system. Invisible waves of energy swept through space, targeting the specific frequency that controlled Zeltharian biotechnology. The effect was immediate and devastating. On the Zeltharian flagship, lights began to flicker. The organic walls started to turn gray and crack. The weapon systems shut down one by one. What is happening? Kefvak roared. Tekmar, the science officer, was frantically working at his console. The neural networks are failing. The ships, biological systems are dying. All across the Zeltharian fleet, the same thing was happening. The ships that had seemed so powerful were now helpless. Their living hulls were becoming dead meat. Their weapons were nothing more than useless decorations. Now, General Stone said quietly. Captain Walsh smiled as he gave the order. All ships attack. The hidden human fleet revealed itself. Ships appeared from behind asteroids, emerged from the shadows of moons, and materialized out of empty space. They moved with deadly grace, like wolves closing in on wounded prey. Zeltharian ships tried to fight back, but their weapons would not work. The neural scramblers had turned their greatest strength into their greatest weakness. Impossible, Kefvak whispered. How do they know about our neural frequencies? Agent. Kelly finally revealed herself. She walked onto the bridge, no longer pretending to be a slave. Because I told them, she said calmly. The Zeltharian crew stared at her in shock. The human they had thought was a helpless prisoner was actually a spy who had been studying them. For years, you, Kethvac snarled. You are the reason for this betrayal, Kelly smiled. No, I'm just the messenger. This betrayal has been planned for 30 years. The first human ships reached the Zeltharian fleet. They fired their quantum torpedoes, weapons that made matter simply stop existing. The alien ships did not explode or burn. They just faded away like ghosts. War leader, Tekmer called out. We have lost 30 ships in the first minute. Our weapons are still not working. Kethvac watched in horror as his mighty fleet was destroyed. These were ships that had conquered entire star systems. Now they were being erased from existence by weapons he could not understand. Jake watched the battle from Earth. It was not really a battle at all. It was an execution. The Zeltharians were helpless against weapons that could make reality itself. Their enemy. Sir, Lieutenant Davis reported, the alien fleet is trying to retreat. Let them run, Jake said. But make sure they understand the message. Captain Walsh's ships pursued the fleeing Zeltharians. The human vessels were faster and more maneuverable. They used reality-bending shields that made enemy weapons pass right through them. This is Captain Walsh to all Zeltharian ships, he broadcast. You have 10 minutes to leave our solar system. Any ship that remains will be destroyed. On the Zeltharian flagship, panic was spreading. The crew had never experienced defeat before. They did not know how to handle it. We must retreat, Tekmer pleaded. We cannot fight weapons that erase matter from existence. But Kethvac was too proud to admit defeat. No, we are the Zeltharian Empire. We do not run from inferior species. Kelly shook her head. You still don't understand. We are not inferior. We have been hiding our true strength for decades, waiting for someone like you to make the mistake of threatening us. The human fleet continued its attack. More Zeltharian ships disappeared into nothingness. The organic vessels that had seemed so mighty were now just targets waiting to be erased. Dr. Blake monitored the battle from her position in the command center. The neural scramblers are working perfectly, she reported. Their biotechnology is completely shut down. How long until their ships start to die naturally? Jake asked. Without the neural networks, about 6 hours, Dr. Blake replied. Their ships are living organisms. They need constant life support to survive. Jake nodded. The humans did not even need to destroy all the alien ships. They could just wait for them to die on their own. But Captain Walsh was not interested in waiting. His ships continued their attack, erasing Zeltharian vessels one by one. Each quantum torpedo removed another piece of the alien fleet from existence. War leader, Tekmer said desperately. We have lost over half our fleet. We must retreat now, or lose everything. Kethvac looked around his dying bridge. The organic walls were turning black and starting to rot. The air was becoming hard to breathe. His mighty flagship was becoming a tomb. How? He whispered. How did they do this to us? Kelly walked over to him. Because you underestimated us. You thought we were a primitive species that would surrender at the first sign of trouble. But we are survivors. We have been preparing for this fight since before you were born. The Zeltharian commander looked at the tactical display. His fleet was being destroyed by an enemy he had not even known existed. The humans had completely outmaneuvered him. We surrender, he said finally. Too late, Kelly replied. You had your chance to leave peacefully. You chose war instead. A human fleet pressed its attack. The Zeltharians who tried to escape were caught and destroyed. The ones who tried to fight were erased from existence. There was no mercy for an enemy who had threatened to destroy all of humanity. Jake received reports from across the solar system. The battle was almost over. The Zeltharian fleet that had seemed so powerful was now just scattered wreckage floating in space. "Sir," Lieutenant Davis said, "Captain Walsh reports that the alien flagship is trying to surrender." Jake thought for a moment. The Zeltharians had shown no mercy to the worlds they had conquered. They had destroyed entire civilizations without hesitation. "Tell Captain Walsh to accept their surrender," Jake said. "But make sure they understand that this is their only chance." Captain Walsh's ship approached the dying Zeltharian flagship. The organic vessel was barely holding together. Its weapons were dead, its shields were down, and its crew was desperate. "Supreme War Leader Kethvok," Walsh broadcast, "this is your final warning. Surrender now and leave our solar system, or be destroyed." On the alien bridge, Kethvak looked at his ruined fleet. Most of his ships were gone. The survivors were dying slowly as their biological systems failed. He had no choice. "We surrender," he said. "We will leave your system and never return." Kelly smiled. "That's what you should have done when you received our warning." The surviving Zeltharian ships began to limp away from Earth. They moved slowly, their organic hulls cracking and failing. Many would not survive the journey home. Jake watched them go. The galaxy's most feared military force was retreating in defeat. The ships that had conquered 47 star systems were now running for their lives. "Is it over?" Lieutenant Davis asked. Jake nodded. "This part is over. But the real work is just beginning." The news of the Zeltharian defeat spread quickly through the galaxy. Species that had been enslaved by the Empire began to revolt. Worlds that had been conquered started to fight for their freedom. Dr. Carter approached Jake with a data pad. "We are receiving messages from across the galaxy. Dozens of species are asking for our help." Jake looked at the list of requests. Civilizations that had been oppressed for centuries were finally seeing hope. The defeat of the Zeltharians had shown them that their oppressors were not invincible. "What should we tell them?" Carter asked. Jake thought about his daughter Emma and all the other children on Earth. He wanted them to grow up in a galaxy where freedom was possible and bullies were stopped. "Tell them that humanity is listening," Jake said, "and that we are ready to help." The battle for Earth's solar system was over, but the war for galactic freedom had just begun. 6 months had passed since the Zeltharian fleet limped away from Earth's solar system. Jake Morrison stood on the observation deck of the new space station orbiting Luna. The galaxy had changed completely, and Earth was at the center of it all. "Sir," Lieutenant Davis called from her new position at the communications console. "We have 43 new requests for assistance today." Jake nodded. Every day brought more messages from alien species asking for Earth's help. The news of the Zeltharian defeat had spread to every corner of the galaxy. Oppressed peoples everywhere were rising up against their conquerors. General Stone walked over to join Jake at the window. He looked older now, but his eyes were bright with satisfaction. "The reports from Captain Walsh are very encouraging," he said. Captain Walsh had been promoted to admiral and was now leading Earth's liberation fleets. His ships were spread across former Zeltharian space, helping enslaved worlds win their freedom. The same weapons that had destroyed the Zeltharian fleet were now being used to protect the innocent. "How many worlds have been liberated?" Jake asked. 87, Stone replied. "The Zeltharian Empire is collapsing faster than we expected. Most of their garrison forces surrendered without a fight when they saw our ships arrive." Dr. Blake approached them with a data pad. "Binaural scramblers continue to be very effective," she reported. "The Zeltharians cannot adapt to the frequency disruption. Their biotechnology is completely useless against us." Jake smiled. The weapons that had seemed so advanced were now just expensive decorations. The Zeltharians had become dependent on their biotechnology, and that dependence had become their downfall. What about the other empires? Jake asked. Are they still keeping their distance? Dr. Carter joined the conversation. The Vraxen Collective and the Kethari Syndicate have both sent diplomatic messages. They want to establish peaceful relations. With Earth, Jake was not surprised. The other galactic powers had watched the Zeltharian defeat with great interest. They had realized that humanity was not a species to be threatened or ignored. Agent Kelly Price had returned to Earth after her. Successful mission. She was now training new agents who would be sent to monitor other alien civilizations. The galaxy was full of potential threats, and Earth needed to be ready for all of them. The intelligence reports are very interesting, Kelly said as she joined the group. Many species are calling humans the Silent Guardians, because we watched the galaxy for so long without revealing ourselves. Jake liked that name. For decades, humanity had been learning and preparing while staying hidden. Now they were using that knowledge to protect others. The view from the observation deck was spectacular. Earth hung in space below them, blue and beautiful. But now it was surrounded by a network of defense stations and patrol ships. The hidden fleet had become a visible symbol of human power. Sir, Lieutenant Davis called out, "We have a priority message from Admiral Walsh." Jake walked over to the communications console. Walsh's face appeared on the screen. He was standing on the bridge of his flagship, and he looked tired but happy. "Jake, we just liberated the Thyler system," Walsh reported. "The Zeltharian garrison surrendered as soon as they saw our ships. The Thyler people are calling us heroes." Jake felt a surge of pride. The Thyler were a peaceful species that had been enslaved by the Zeltharians for over a century. Their homeworld had been turned into a mining colony, and their people had been forced to work as slaves. "What's the status of the Thyler people?" Jake asked. "They are free," Walsh replied. "We are helping them rebuild their cities and establish a new government. They want to join the Terran Confederation." The Terran Confederation was Earth's new alliance with liberated worlds. It offered protection and trade opportunities to any species that wanted to live in peace. Already, over 50 worlds had joined. Any resistance from the Zeltharians? Jake asked. Walsh shook his head. None. Most of them are too busy trying to keep their own empire from falling apart. We estimate that they have lost control of over 200 systems. The Zeltharian Empire was dying. Without their reputation for invincibility, they could not control their vast territories. World after world was declaring independence, and there was nothing the Zeltharians could do to stop it. Dr. Blake brought up another display. The quantum torpedo production is ahead of schedule. We now have enough weapons to equip 1,000 ships. Jake was pleased. The quantum torpedoes were Earth's most powerful weapon, but they were also the most difficult to build. Each torpedo required rare materials and complex manufacturing processes. "Are we sharing the technology with our allies?" Jake asked. "Limited sharing," Stone replied. "We are giving them neural scramblers and basic energy weapons. The quantum torpedoes remain an Earth-only technology." Jake understood. The quantum torpedoes were too dangerous to share freely. If they fell into the wrong hands, they could be used to destroy entire star systems. A new voice came through the speakers. "Earth Command, this is the exploration ship Pioneer. We have made contact with a new species." Jake recognized the voice of Captain Roy Bennett, one of Earth's top explorers. His ship was investigating former Zeltharian space, looking for species that might need help. "Report, Captain Bennett," Jake said. "We found a species called the Zephyrians," Bennett replied. "They have been hiding in asteroid fields for the past 50 years, avoiding Zeltharian patrols. They are asking for Earth's protection." Jake looked at the star map. The Zephyrian system was deep in former Zeltharian space, far from Earth's current patrol routes. But that did not matter. If they needed help, Earth would provide it. Send a protection fleet to their system, Jake ordered, and invite them to join the Confederation. This was how it worked now. Earth's ships would arrive at threatened worlds, drive away the oppressors, and offer the survivors a chance to join the growing alliance of free peoples. Dr. Carter brought up a new display showing the current state of the galaxy. The Zaltharian Empire was shown in red, but it was much smaller than before. The Terran Confederation was shown in blue, and it was growing every day. The power balance has completely shifted, Carter observed. 6 months ago, the Zaltharians controlled a third of the galaxy. Now they control less than 10%. Jake studied the map. Other alien empires were also shown, but they were all smaller than the Confederation. Earth had become the dominant power in the galaxy, almost by accident. What about Supreme War Leader Kethvak? Jake asked. Is he still alive? Kelly smiled. Our agents report that he has been stripped of his rank and exiled to a remote world. The Zaltharian government blames him for the disaster. Jake felt a moment of sympathy for the former war leader. Kethvak had been following the same tactics. That had worked for centuries. He could not have known that Earth was different from all the other worlds he had conquered. Sir, Lieutenant Davis called out, we have a message from the Andorian Republic. They are requesting Earth's help with a pirate problem. Jake nodded. The galaxy was full of new challenges. Pirates, slavers, and other criminals were taking advantage of the chaos caused by the Zaltharian collapse. Earth's fleets were busy protecting trade routes and hunting down the worst offenders. Send the Third Fleet to assist them, Jake ordered, and remind the pirates that Earth does not negotiate with criminals. The Third Fleet was one of Earth's newer formations, equipped with the latest weapons and crewed by veterans of the Zaltharian War. They had earned a reputation for being fair but ruthless when dealing with threats to galactic peace. General Stone walked over to the window again. You know, Jake, I never imagined it would turn out like this. We built Project Prometheus to defend Earth. Now we are defending half the galaxy. Jake joined him at the window. Maybe that was always the plan. Maybe we were meant to be more than just another species struggling to survive. The communication console chimed again. This time, it was a message from Earth's government. President Lopez wanted to speak with Jake about the establishment of new colonies in liberated systems. The president wants to discuss expansion plans. Lieutenant Davis reported. Jake was not surprised. With so many worlds asking for Earth's protection, it made sense to establish permanent bases throughout the galaxy. The colonies would serve as supply points for the fleet and centers of human culture. Schedule a meeting for tomorrow, Jake said. We need to think carefully about how fast we expand. Dr. Blake brought up another display. The research teams have been studying captured Zaltharian technology. We may be able to improve our own biotechnology using their techniques. Jake was interested. The Zaltharians had been very advanced in biological sciences. If Earth could learn from their techniques, without copying their weaknesses, it could lead to major breakthroughs. What kind of improvements? Jake asked. Self-healing ship hulls, organic computers, and biological weapon systems, Blake replied. All without the neural frequency vulnerability that destroyed the Zaltharians. The future looked bright. Earth was no longer a hidden world preparing for invasion. It was the center of a growing alliance of free peoples, protected by the most advanced military force in the galaxy. Jake thought about his daughter, Emma. She was now 9 years old and dreaming of becoming a starship captain. In her lifetime, she would see humans and aliens working together to explore the galaxy and protect the innocent.